The reason we know how to use margin because we know how to use margin. Because you don't know how to use margin, well, don't put it on us. Don't even ask us question.
Shut up, bitch! Oh my!
Ryan, why don't you pull up Amazon's margins real quick?
Well, yeah, I'd have more of a grin on my face than Stephen Hawking on Epstein's Island.
I'm off as a smug cock when he said that.
Wow, fiscal philosophy, you're not very smart at all. You screw up, cash flow kings. Dissector, you are an idiot.
Hello, everybody. It's Saturday. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. And on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, you could be doing a wide range, variety of activities. You could be doing a whole lot of stuff at Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Fiscal, what are some of the activities that you could be enduring on your Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern?
Well, you could be grabbing a little something from the local vape shop and toking it, perhaps going down to the dispensary and enjoying some of that ganj. You know, the ganja man.
The ganja man.
Yeah, exactly. Not going to get canceled for the bad Jamaican accent, I hope. Yeah. You could be, you could be, for example, going down to the nightclub, listening to Sandstorm and pounding vodka sodas like nobody's business.
I'm all for listening to Sandstorm.
Watching all the thoughts twerk on the dance floor. Ugh.
Not good.
Abysmal. Negative cash flow.
Do you prefer watching? Do you prefer watching them or dancing with them? What's your option of choice?
So, I don't really dance. So,
contrary to popular belief, people who know
they can dance in my vicinity, but I'm not really gonna participate.
You're more of a viewer than a commenter. I respect it.
Yeah, I'm a receiver more than a giver, I guess. When it comes to dancing. Yeah, well, I receive dances. I don't give them so much.
I was thinking on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, you could be trying to, off the top of my head, putting a lot of emotional investment into an investment that frankly hasn't done very well recently. Nothing in specific. You could also maybe perhaps be trying to get your parents, and more specifically your mom, off Facebook or Twitter, going on a bit of a crazy spree, perhaps attacking your favorite two podcasters.
And attacking one of our favorite stocks too, apparently.
I know, it's supposedly we're paid shills that we found out this weekend. We're paid shills.
We're paid shills for High Tide, right? Is that it?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know that we were
supposedly we're on CEO Raj Grover's payroll secretly.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another funny thing. Raj Grover, if you guys don't already follow us on Twitter at CashflowKingsYT down there, make sure you get on there, because there's that's like the show away from the show almost throughout the week. That like there's stuff that you just don't get. Like we sometimes just don't discuss it, or like inside jokes that you're gonna want to be on our Twitter or Discord's link in the description for.
100%. You get all the little nuggets throughout the week leading up to the show.
It's the gift that keeps on giving all week round.
100%. I mean, you can ask Seymour Duck, you can ask Blake Downer, both in the chat, by the way. Hey guys, see you there.
Yeah. Blake, another one of these targets, another paid shill for High Tide.
Before we get to our main topic, and still on the topic of High Tide, did you see our guest from the last roundtable is going to be interviewing Raj Grover soon?
Which one?
MV.
Actually,
yeah.
When?
Yeah. I don't know when. And also, Raj had indicated that he does have schedule allowing at some undefined point in the future. He's open to coming on here, sunglasses and all. By the way, confirmed.
I'm looking forward to it so deeply. Like, we're gonna piss off so many people when he comes on. Just like non-intentionally piss people off.
So the sunglasses are so we don't get blinded by the shine. That's
the shine of High Tide, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that was shout out to Raj Grover, by the way. If for those who aren't on Twitter, you wouldn't know what we're talking about. Once again, even more reason to join the fun over there.
But yeah, like he's absolutely fun to engage with on Twitter, and he absolutely loves the people that invest in and cover his company. And he's a very active and communicative CEO, and very, very accessible, which is kind of a breath of fresh air. Very nice.
Blake comes to elaborate. By choosing a side in the cannabis industry, we've earned ourselves some enemies. Enemies. Many shareholders. Yeah, that's got that impression. Well said, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, they really don't. Those people do not like Blake because Blake is like,
they don't like us.
Well, but I think it's a guilt by association thing because Blake is probably one of the most well-spoken advocates of High Tide as an investment, and we put him on our platform so frequently with the roundtables and everything.
We're the cash clowns.
Yeah, we're the paid pills,
Yeah, we are, definitely. You
Blake on and pump High Tide, obviously. Although
we should do a special intro next time. It's like the Breaking Bad thing. You got me.
If we were getting that money though, nobody told our accountant because our taxes show a loss for 2024.
Yeah, it's under the table. We get paid in Canadian dollars, and it's through PayPal, so it's friends and family. You got us for sure.
He pays us in kilos of weed.
Yeah, we export it locally.
That's a joke for legal reasons.
Yeah, that's a joke. For legal reasons, that's a joke. Tonight, Capital Mindset, our favorite, another High Tide Roundtable, episode 32 veteran.
Yeah, frequent fan favorite guest. Yeah.
He will be coming on at some point tonight, perhaps a little late, as he has business potentially accommodate to. Maybe he's been attacked. Maybe there's been a secret. The Oracle got him. You never know. Anything can happen Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. But we do have some matters of business to discuss before we get to grab. And of course, this will be a fun discussion tonight. But last week, we've been talking about good management recently, right, Fiscal? Good management. People like Raj Grover who go and engage on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know what CEO doesn't engage on Twitter and doesn't really provide much transparency?
Which CEO?
It's not Pat Gelsinger. It's Brian Cornell of Target. And frankly, Mr. Cornell, I've had enough and I'm out. After being convinced heavily by some people perhaps on this show, perhaps not. I fully exited out of Target at a 14% loss or $130 loss. So, I mean, $130 pretty rough, but, make it back,
That's 65 Cash Flow Kings memberships, guys.
Yeah, by the way, everybody, that's 65 Cash Flow Kings memberships. So, you guys know what to do.
Massive hit.
Yeah, massive hit right now to the personal net worth. Any immediate thoughts?
Well, I think even if Target like goes up 10% next week or something, I still think it was a good decision.
I'm flat.
I still think, yeah.
I'm actually think I'm more down because I put the money into Amazon at 224. I put like 500 of it in Amazon.
Well, yeah, and Amazon and Google and like basically the whole market's been, but Amazon and Google I think have been taking the brunt of it lately.
Yeah, it's been a ride.
Which, granted, like everybody thinks that ChatGPT is gonna just replace Google and that their revenue from Google search is just gonna fall off a cliff randomly out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just not convinced that that's the case.
Yeah.
And Amazon, I guess they're just falling because people don't like fast, cheap, convenient delivery anymore, and they also don't like Amazon Web Services anymore, and they don't like Prime Video anymore. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you why Amazon specifically has been dropping like a rock, but it could be a good opportunity.
Mm-hmm. For full transparency, what I put the money into, I bought 45 more shares of High Tide, $500 into Amazon, 4 shares of SHG, and 1 share of Disney on Tuesday at $109. And
I am slightly disappointed that you didn't pick up some Grab, considering.
Yeah, but I bought it when it was up 20%. Great idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. My dilemma with Grab now is like my average cost is $3.48, and so anything I add to it is going to be like averaging up. But I might like sell cash secured puts or something like that, so where maybe if I do get assigned shares, it'll be like a slightly lower basis than what the price is today or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the. SHG took a bit of a hit on what was it, Friday? I want to say yesterday.
Friday the NASDAQ and the SPY were both down. So yeah, anything that's growth based took it. And the Russell was down a lot too. And so mid caps were hit, large caps were hit, tech was hit, everything was hit.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think Apple was basically.
Of course, Apple goes up the one fundamentally.
I mean,
it's only not at all. No.
It's only a 40 PE with no growth. It's cheap.
Yeah, it is. But have you heard of the ecosystem? Have you heard the ecosystem?
Have you heard that it's a buy no matter the price? Because
that's a legendary quote from Double D's. We'll never. You can't.
That was for Coke, I think.
That was for Coke. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, both Warren Buffett stocks, and we know that. He never sells. Oh, wait, except he sold half his Apple.
Definitely. I was also debating before we pull up Amazon's financials here. I was I don't want to say close, but I was like oddly close to starting a very small speculative position in NBIS. It would have been a gamble. It would have been a gamble.
NBIS, huh?
MV's in it.
So I've been getting involved in TSSI. That's the latest Stabilo pump.
Yeah.
But it does seem like there's some there. You look at the CapEx spend of all the big tech companies, and TSSI is one of the companies that should be receiving some of those billions in their pockets. So
my thing with TSSI, how are you approaching it? Like, are you long in it, or is it kind of a medium term ARIA grab play?
So I think ultimately it depends on how attractively valued it is compared to the future prospects, right? Like if it looks like it's going to be, for example, $1 of EPS and it's only at like $20 or something, and it's expected to continue to grow, well, why would I want to just sell something that's like a 20 PE that's still growing, right?
Yeah.
But if it's looking like it's going to be a $1 EPS growing modestly, but then it shoots up to like $40 or something, I might be like, well, modest growth with like a 40x multiple on it, probably
Get out.
like, yeah, like it just depends on the price versus the projected future opportunity.
Take the gains and
Like if Amazon went to 500 tomorrow, I would sell it. Like I think if nothing else was different in the business, right? So
everything but Starbucks, I'd no.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back because I have been selling Starbucks pretty heavily recently.
Mhm.
Well, another one that's I would have never pictured like maybe a year or two ago of me doing it. I've kind of gone through with it. Wild times. It's crazy when you really start like viewing every stock you buy compared to the index and be like, is this worth it? Is this going to outperform? And you get a lot more picky, and I think it makes you a better investor.
And well, for me, it's not even just that. Like yeah, the Magnificent Seven can keep pulling the SPY and the NASDAQ up into the future for sure. They could, but then there's also like what are you in that maybe potentially softens the blow on the downside, right? And I think for you probably would say SCHD and like Disney probably serve that purpose.
Yeah.
The kind of
Disney can get some growth for me, some good gains.
Oh yeah, they can. I'm not saying that Disney can't
price.
Outperform,
Yeah.
but also I think Disney, because it's, you know, they've been around 100 years, they've got a moat.
That's a discussion to have once they get to a reasonable price.
I think they're maybe seen as kind of like a little bit of a bellwether where like, if tech takes a dump, like Disney's probably gonna hold up a little bit better than say Tesla or Nvidia, right? If tech in general takes a big hit, you would think.
Yeah.
Although, like randomly, BTI has been taking a dump too, so who knows?
I think that's because of I want to say it was something related to maybe RFK. I don't know why. I remember in the Discord somebody mentioned it. So let's say MV kind of is pretty deep in it. My issue is like I'm the first to admit that I'm not an AI guy. So like I'd have to kind of understand that part of it. And I'm also worried like this is kind of a ridiculous amount of CapEx spending that there's been on AI, and I don't know how sustainable that's going to be. It's just not my circle of competence. That's why it would be kind of a gamble position.
Yeah. There is one other cannabis company I'm looking at, but I don't want to talk about it yet.
It's not a MSOS, is it? Even
though no. No, I've just been hearing whispers about it, and it could.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, for obvious reasons, we don't want to bring it up yet since we're not in yet.
Yeah, CFK is going to be like a cannabis only channel by the next 2 years.
No.
We'll never sell out that much, guys. We don't want to do that. No.
But yeah, no, so here's the funny thing about market logic, kind of like a little bit more on topic to grab, because you know, Uber owns a portion of the company and everything.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do, Blake. We'll talk in Discord about that. But so Uber is apparently in danger because of Waymo, which is owned by Google. So we got to sell Uber. But Google, their search is in danger because of LLMs. So you got to sell Google.
Yeah.
Do you see like if you keep going with that like, train of logic, it's just like apparently everything's just a sell, right?
Starbucks. This will actually be a fun game to play. If we got like 10 stocks, like just hit me and you just got like 10 consumer companies. We named them off. All right, Target. Where are they going to go out? Amazon. Starbucks. Where are they going to go out? Oatly. Or nah, not Oatly. Dutch Bros.
Yeah. You hear it. I mean, granted, people where I live obsessed with Dutch Bros. So there might be something to that, but there's like the scale of it. It's like they're so far off from being like the Burger King competing with McDonald's type situation. They're just not quite big enough yet.
Yeah.
And they're
Well,
probably like a decade away from, being anywhere near that scale, right? So I wouldn't be too fretful. With Starbucks, Dutch Bros isn't the threat. It's like
China. I don't know if you can name what company.
It's the valuation and like the lack of real growth. I think that's.
Oh, well, obviously, but like if
Yeah.
we had to name like one competitor or like one giant thing,
Yeah,
that
and
would send
it's
them down.
definitely they're hanging their hat on China, and China might not be as good as y'all hoped on that. Yeah, for Starbucks.
Never invest in China. I've heard that.
I've heard that too.
Let's see. What is your GTBIF stake? They have earnings on 20s. This is Green Thumb Industries. Have you heard of this, Fiscal?
GT by never heard of it.
Green Thumb Industries. If you want to give us a pitch, we're here.
Yeah.
Davis in the chat. Yeah, we like weak stocks. Yeah, no, weed stocks. We love them. We love MSOS. We're paid shills.
I mean, positive EPS. That's good, I guess.
Good analysis here. Speaking of analysis,
I mean, hey, to be fair, for cannabis stocks, positive EPS is actually abnormal.
Yeah.
So, that puts them already ahead. Like any net income puts them ahead of most weed stocks. So.
Yeah, they have the traditional weed stock chart too.
They've got like 6 or 7 quarters consecutively of positive net income too. So they might actually, there could be something to that.
What's the business? Wait, let's see.
I don't know. I don't know too much. I just quickly pulled up.
Oh no, we can't support this now. Absolutely not. We're out. I'm joking.
They're the number one holding it.
Killed now.
Yeah.
Excellent management, Bennett's job. Yeah, I'm not.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't hate on it just because, again, they're profitable and most weed stocks aren't. So they're clearly doing something right.
We pull it up on Finchat. Do we do it?
Yeah. Pull them up on Finchat. We might as well.
Finchat.io, everybody. The number one investment software. We have an affiliate link in the description. High quality software. Very easy to read.
And in chat, the thumb wants us to pull up the free cash flow.
Free cash flow? I didn't hear the magic word.
Yeah.
I'm joking. All right. We want free cash flow. You get free cash flow on the Cash Flow Kings. Okay. Bit of an explosion.
Oh, okay. All right. That certainly went in a direction very rapidly.
Let's see.
How much free cash flow is that?
That is 133.5 million, I believe.
Really? Dang. Okay.
I think so.
That's crazy. That's kind of a crazy jump.
I was gonna say there must be.
I'd be a little curious if there wasn't like some kind of random windfall or something that caused that to happen.
Revenues is in the dark blue. They have been growing their revenues the last 10 years at a 90% CAGR. Pull up the last 5 years because every investor knows that the last 5 years is the only thing that counts. 20% growth rate.
Yep.
Any other financials? Net income?
Yeah, I mean net income is has for the last like 6 or 7 quarters it's been positive.
Do you come for net income?
So they're clearly, if they're making money, they're doing better than most. So,
okay, this is we had somebody comment on our show throughout the week.
We have a question from chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Commented on some of the videos that we've been posting throughout the week, so we have to. I said that we'd get to it tonight. I appreciate an answer to the question I had on High Tide. The question is why they sell in physical stores rather than online.
So
Blake is typing up something right now.
I'm pretty like my guess will probably be that for legal reasons they may not be able to like sell online potentially.
Yeah. I was gonna say that it's like
There's-
I feel like they'd have to go through a lot to get that like shipped.
Yeah, I think there's regulation. Like there probably needs to be somebody physically checking your ID and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because imagine like it's so hard to like. I'm trying to make the video game analogy.
Yeah.
I remember I was like 12. I was buying I was 11, 12 years old. I was buying GTA online, and I don't remember if you had to like submit ID or.
Yeah,
I don't. But with cannabis, I'm still a lot more intense than a video game. Blake adds in that physical stores brand loyalty. That's true.
Yeah, but does anybody know the regulation wise in Canada? Is it possible to just sell weed to people online and ship it to them? Like, I feel like that's probably not allowed because, like, okay, like, did tobacco companies do that? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so.
Wow, it supposedly can be run from a licensed private seller or government ran website. So
interesting.
Would High Tide be a licensed private seller? That license for sure. I don't know if the private.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
we're not junkies every. Sorry. Oh fuck, we're gonna get canceled. We're not weedies. We don't smoke. Me and Fiscal are both sober Sallies.
Yeah, I mean, I like wine, but
yeah.
I'll
indulge in a Philip Morris product by occasion, but because British tobacco is a little too heavy for me.
Yeah, and Blake also added it's a tactile thing for some, and I think some people like to give the product like an actual physical look and maybe even a smell potentially.
Give it a whiff.
Yeah, they want to like inspect the goods before they buy it. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not the people to be talking about in-person due diligence when it comes to these companies.
Yeah, I mean, we're not in Canada, first of all, but if I was, I would.
Our special guest is on the way. Yes,
yeah, and yeah, he has some type of a position in Grab. Yes.
Yeah.
As do I.
Yeah, well, we can definitely. We're gonna get to the Grab, everybody. Don't worry, because that's all that it's all everybody saw on Twitter pretty much last weekend.
Last weekend for whatever reason it was trending, which I should have known something was happening because like some of my old tweets from on X started getting random likes from like Amit and like the other like the Palantir crowd. Yeah,
Amit liked it. That's funny.
Yeah, no, like because he said that he was going through. He actually physically pulled up every single old tweet on or X post on Grab and like looked over all of them just to see like how much previous interest there was when he was about to do his thing with it. So yeah, so he obviously. I'm like, why am I randomly getting a like on something that's like months old, you know, on Grab, where I'm not really accustomed to my Grab content getting that much engagement from anybody. Yeah. Because, well, previously anyway, because it's not really previously. It's not. It was really flying under the radar because it's like nobody really thinks of investing in like Singaporean businesses. It's just not like everybody talks about the US and China and Europe, and people don't really they kind of discount I think some of the other places out there that have some pretty interesting companies.
You do anything with Grab this week?
So not in the account that you're familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the SHD killer either.
No. Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of reconstituting that whole thing, and what I think I'm going to do is rebuy. Well, I like kind of pick. I already like repicked like different stocks. I decided to make it 20 instead of 50. And I'm going to then buy an equal amount of SCHD and set both of them to drip and just see which one does better over like a specific period of time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I own a ridiculous amount of SHG like compared to the rest of the portfolio now. It's kind of nice. I feel a little more comfortable. And my gains are not good on it either. I think I'm at like a 9 or 10% gain, but I've only held it for a year and a half now, so can't complain. We'll take a look at Amazon on Finchat, by the way. We were going to get to that, but we were interrupted. Are you buying Amazon like around 200? I know that's when Arya said he'd buy, but
So if Amazon drops back down like low again, I might buy Leaps.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I want to get a little, maybe just a little bit friskier with options, not like degenerate options, but like longer term options on like actual solid companies.
I like that.
Yeah.
Look at the free cash flow compared to the revenue. Like that thing's gonna explode. Like even if it gets to like 20% of what the revenue's at, that'd just be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ari has a smile on his face somewhere right now. Operating income.
Yeah. So, yeah, Amazon. There's absolutely nothing fundamentally wrong with it, and I think it's dropping just because.
Holy shit! It's Bob Iger. Bob Iger heard all the good things that I said about him. Oh my god, this is great.
We're paid shills for Disney now.
Bob Iger, we appreciate that very much. And obviously, it's not a channel membership, but we won't dance. But we will play this nice new video of us dancing.
That better not be copyrighted.
That was Khmer's music, by the way. We had Henry make that for us on the Discord, which I greatly appreciated, and it had to be inserted into the show. Thank you for the $1, Bob Iger. We are in great need of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but Amazon, we're looking pretty good right now.
Let's see. If you like talking dividends personally, he likes REITs. Yeah, I mean, I like poverty medical REITs. Vinci's decent. I used to live in an MAA owned apartment building at one point in time.
Is it the one you used to live in?
No, not the one you've heard about. No, the place I lived before that was an MAA owned place. The MAA apartment buildings are actually in like an okay area, and they're fairly upscale. So yeah. They're in Scottsdale. So yeah. But like close to the part, like 5 minutes from the place in town everybody parties at, the 8 p.m. Eastern stuff. They're 5 minutes away from all that. Yeah.
That's funny, retire.
Yeah. No, a good point from our editor.
It shouldn't have been long enough, and 2, Khmer uses it often, so
yeah,
he doesn't get copyrighted.
Unless he owns it. I mean, can you imagine? Like we got a claim so he can get our like 80 cents in ad revenue.
We'll take him to court, and we'll do a reverse sue on him, and then we'll like bring up separate charges for what could I sue him on?
I mean, he said I'm not very smart at all. That's defamation.
That's defamation, and he also used my video without permission for members only. So that would be copyright, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he don't understand the income. I love Khmer.
We better be careful because he can pay his lawyer fees with his MSTY dividends. He's in margin call again. Unbelievable.
Oh, fun times. I love not being in margin call.
What a time to be alive.
I know.
Yeah. Hey, the reason we know how to use margin.
I won't pull it up again.
I know.
Something will have to go off in the chat. Something will have to go off in the chat for me to pull that up again. I apologize. Gross profit.
All right, he's watching. He's watching it like a hawk. He's got
He
the
is.
studio up in his phone. He's making sure
Yeah,
that we're not
good.
in
Get
violation.
working on the shorts, boy. I know your social security number.
Send it to the Oracle. I'm the
working on
sweaty
this.
pumpkin now. Actually, if I change the color, like if I change around this ring light, I might actually look like a sweaty pumpkin. So
I was rewatching that this week. For those who are channel members, you know what we're talking about. You get access to the Forbidden episode 32, which only 14 people have right now. It's it's something. I rewatched the part where Strongman joined in and they had the whole argument. It was just entertainment. Like that thing will never get old. It's just like so many times, and I miss something when I watch it every time. Like I'll just notice something that I didn't watching back. The funny, it was so great. That was the best episode ever. Yeah, 10% CAGR last 3 years, 5% or 5 year 17%, 10 year 22%. Some quality growth, and yeah, they look really good.
No, so I need to correct something here. So it's not REITs that have schedules K1. It's actually limited partnerships. So the midstream energy LP stuff that like Shell Midstream Partners used to be one. I don't know if they still are. There's one, NextEra has one. It's called XIFR or something like that. So those limited partnerships are the ones that send out K1s for taxes. And actual partnerships that you personally own with your partners actually have them too, as we all know, because we received some from Strongman Personal Finance recently.
Yeah. Shout out to our tax man.
Yep.
Okay, I think we get into grab because Fabio is nowhere to be found. He's mysteriously, the Oracle got him, we'll say.
Anybody want to try to fill in for for Fabio?
He might be in like a little later. We'll talk grab still. He might be in just a little later than we anticipated. We'll start with grab though. So with grab, essentially it's been a holding that you've talked about probably for like the last year on the channel.
It's 11. I've had it 11 months. I bought my first shares, I think March 11th of last year.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a journey. Any OG Cash Flow Keys viewer know that we're not on the bandwagon. I don't own any. I've never gassed it up. I'm not gassing it up now because it went up and went down again. But you've seen some pretty good returns. Do you want to share just where you kind of found out about the company to start off your
all right. So my first experience with the company itself was actually in 2022. I visited Southeast Asia, and everybody I talked to ahead of that trip, like I had been speaking to multiple people that lived in Manila or in the Philippines, not all in Manila, but that's where I was going. And every single one of them said, hey, before you come here, you need to make sure you download this app. It's called Grab. And I'm like, what? And they're like, basically it's like Uber. And I was like, okay. And of course, like I, for whatever reason, waited until I actually landed there to try to download it. And like the data on my phone was very bad. And so it was a pain in the butt. And one of them actually hailed the ride on my behalf because I was having so much trouble. And I luckily, like, they accept cash payment still. Like you could choose between paying cash or paying card. So they didn't buy the ride for me, but like they sent me the driver and I paid him in cash basically.
Yeah.
So that was my very, very, very first experience with it. And I had no idea that it was a publicly traded company at the time. The thought did not even cross my mind actually. And a couple more trips to the region later, somebody in my Discord named Beater, you guys know who I'm talking about, had said something in there. Just, it was kind of like a throwaway comment in my general chat. Like, has anyone here like looked at Grab? It might be interesting. Like, that's all.
Peterson,
and I like kind of forgot about that comment, but then like on my third trip over there, I was like, And like I like vaguely remembered it coming up at some point, and I started looking into it. And I was like, actually, this doesn't look half bad. Now at the time, they were just starting to like hit that tipping point where, you know, when you see the negative like net income and negative cash flow and stuff like moving upwards towards zero, they were kind of at that point. And I was like, well, if they keep going on this trajectory, and they could have like a Palantir moment. And everybody knows like when Palantir started producing positive EPS, that's when kind of the beginning of this prolonged pump started, right? And granted, I don't think Grab is going to go to like $100 or anything. Not that I'd mind.
Quote that somebody.
But I could see like at that point it garnering more attention and catching on. Now they've actually been producing positive free cash flow, and the important thing actually is the positive adjusted free cash flow. I can explain why the adjusted is more important to look at if you like, but they've been positive the last 2 quarters, and the jumps in that metric over the prior year have been substantial. Is that just the
that's regular free cash flow? I'm trying to find adjusted.
Yeah, what is it? Is it annual or is it quarterly?
This is annual.
Can you make it quarterly?
I didn't hear the magic word.
The power of Finchat.
Yeah.
That's the magic
there
word.
We go. Okay.
Okay. So what do the last 2 quarters say there?
Last 2 quarters say 223 and 315.
Okay. So yeah, these numbers are higher than they should be because they have a banking side. And so customer deposits are in a sense cash in. So data feeds will show that as free cash flow. So in their earnings presentation, they cancel out the deposits that were made in the online banking. But the important thing is that even when they do that, the numbers are still in the positive and growing. And the deposits are actually growing as well. They've got it's a little bit, it's like small now, but it's growing very fast. But they've got like 1.2 billion on deposit, and they've also got loans dispersed of about 2.2 billion. So that is it's a relatively new part of the business, but it's growing very quickly and without them having to like really spend a lot to like get those customers in the door. That's the important thing. It's kind of a flywheel. Like 9 out of 10 of their banking customers use other Grab services on their app. So that's a very important part of the old super app flywheel that they're trying to create.
What's their market share in like the Philippine Asia area? I'm not familiar with that.
It's different in each country, but I've heard Vietnam, it's like 90 to 95%, for example.
I figured that would be pretty
now
high.
The market I think is a little more fragmented in the Philippines and Indonesia, especially because Indonesia has Gojek, I think is what it's called. It's actually publicly traded also, but they look pretty bad financially by comparison, in my view.
Yeah.
And the Philippines has like a couple other operators that I would say are basically like the Lyft if Grab is Uber kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's one, it's called like Delivery Panda or something. It's kind of like the DoorDash to Uber Eats situation. And then there's another one that's specifically for motorbike rides. That's kind of like the Lyft to their Uber. Yeah. So there are competitors in the region, but it's pretty fragmented competition, and none of them are like, in my view, on Grab's level.
Yeah, so you would prefer Grab over SE because SAGIC 72 says here that
yeah
is an SE.
SE, huh?
I'm not familiar with SE either.
CSEA Limited. Digital entertainment and digital financial service. Interesting.
They're not like are they a food? Are they a delivery company? Like, okay, I was gonna say that's just. Hey, if you want a real man's China stock, invest in Starbucks. I'm joking.
Wow. That's crazy. But yeah. Yeah, I think Grab is like a little bit it's easy for me to understand because it's the same business model as Uber on the one hand and SoFi on the other.
Yeah. Uber.
Yeah, Uber.
Uber's been a nice little compounder. Uber's seen more gains in like a day than MSOS has seen in like 5 years. Wildlife.
Indeed.
Operating income. Okay, so the operating income is negative, but
he added some color about SE. So some lending part where it might compete with Grab, but generally not competitors. Okay, that's an important distinction. Yeah. But honestly, my understanding with like digital banking and everything over there is that it's not a very saturated market. Like nobody has really achieved that really, really deep market penetration. They're very underserved.
Yeah.
If to my understanding. And it makes sense, right? There's a lot of places over there where the per capita GDP is like $4,000 US, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there are people that are getting, you know, annual wages and stuff that are higher than that, obviously, but they're still like very, on the whole, compared to the US, pretty poor. But more and more people are becoming, you know, upwardly mobile, and those are your potential future customers, right?
Yeah.
Especially for the bank, for the digi banking and stuff, the loans and things like that. And here's the cool thing: they use actually. I hesitate to categorize it as AI, but like you could.
Here we go.
For their lending decisions, basically like who gets approved or not.
Yeah.
They have some like computer model, I'll call it, instead of AI. But I know they use the word AI a lot in their latest conference call, by the way. But and they talked about autonomous driving and stuff too, which if you've ever been to like Manila or anywhere, we take the infrastructure we have here, I think, for granted.
Yeah.
A Waymo would not do well over there, I don't think.
Yeah,
and we're probably a ways off from that. But they did say, oh, well, you know, when the infrastructure starts to make sense, we want to be a market leader in the autonomous side of things and stuff. So they paid lip service to it, but I think they know just as well or better than I do that infrastructure is a long ways off from being where it would need to be. So,
and hey, if let's say you don't want to get in with all the Grab hype right now, there's something you don't like in the financials, just buy Uber. Uber has like what, 12% of Grab?
Yeah.
9%, 14. It's either 9, 14, or 12. It's one of the
so the initial stake they took was, I think, like 27.5, but there was but because of like dilution, it shrunk. Because during pandemic times, they issued a lot of stock instead of taking on debt in order to, you know, keep the thing running. And I think that if you look at their balance sheet today, like granted, if you were in the stock when it was like $10 or $12 or whatever it was back then, you're probably like not too happy about that. Yeah. But if you look at their balance sheet today and the fact that they're starting to generate positive cash flow, I mean, you want your companies to have good balance sheets and generate positive cash flow, I think.
Well said. Where do you see the stock potentially going? Just bear case and bull case, and maybe one in the middle. Whatever you think is more likely going to happen.
Sorry, I'm reading the chat.
I have. Oh yeah. I wonder, is that bullish? Is that bullish or bearish that they have lady boys over there? I don't know if that's good for the stock.
I have no comment on that.
I mean, you have older dudes that go over there that for that purpose, and
Yeah,
that's
you
kind of
do.
a reoccurring, like that's an addictive business. It's very
So
sticky
yeah.
revenue.
So Grab does do a lot better during tourist season, because they even mentioned that like people that are traveling use the app like more than twice as much as people that live there. So it's a very lucrative source of income for them. the old guys, as you want to call them.
I was seeing Instagram reels about like it's just like people that will take videos of like old dudes with like very young looking Filipinian
Oh yeah,
women.
I well, I
mean,
saw some of that there with like in person, but like not lady boys, but like actual women.
proof.
Like we're talking like dudes in their like 70s.
Oh yeah, like the
Yeah.
gray hair. You can
and
get away with it still.
and others that like maybe weren't that old, but like there was this one dude that had to be like 450 pounds and stuff, and it's like, dang, bro. And this is a
still
country.
pulling.
What now?
He was still pulling.
He was walking, holding some chick's hand. Yeah.
Maybe he ate her. And we worried.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
Philippines
different strokes for
like a-
different folks, I guess. But
Maybe we should do a Cashflow Kings Philippines trip in 2030, 5 years. The Vegas
mean,
thing has to happen. The Vegas thing has to happen.
Yeah,
There's
Vegas
no
first, right.
debate about it.
but
We have
yeah.
like 2 years for that. Actually, yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I also fun travel story. I saw like one of those, like he was probably in his 60s or 70s. He was old. All right. He was getting very like belligerent and like crotchety with the like front desk clerk at a hotel because they wouldn't accept US currency for him to pay for his bill.
Oh, great.
He's like, if you've seen Parks and Rec, you know, like when Ron Swanson's in London, England, and wants to buy that greeting card, and he tries to pay with like a dollar bill, and they're like, "Oh, we don't accept American currency." He's like, "This is the best piece of paper you will ever have." It was very similar, except the guy was really grouchy, and it's like, hey, it's not the clerk's fault that you're an idiot and thought that places in another country would take currency that's not legal tender in their country. Like every airport, there's like 2 currency exchanges like on either side of you when you get through customs and stuff. So it's like, why'd you just walk right by that and not get some, local currency, bro? Like, yeah. It's like he made it everybody else's fault that he didn't come prepared. Very, very. It's a bad look for Americans, I think.
Yeah.
Also, the lady friend he was there with, she made eye contact with me, like, because she was very embarrassed about his behavior. And I was just like, like, like she's like, do guys act like this in your country? I'm like, some of them. He's what you would call a Karen, just the male version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the offer. We tell you on dividends. We don't know if we'll be heading to Indonesia anytime soon, but we appreciate the offer.
Oh, but apparently Blake and Fabio.
Yeah, Blake and Fabio, they won't be there. Don't worry. It'll just be us.
I mean, I would consider that. I mean, Indonesia looks interesting.
Yeah, how much typically do your Philippine weeks cost on average total?
So literally, like grand total, I think. I want to say roughly like 1,500 between like the airfare and the accommodations, and then like food and incidentals, somewhere in that range, probably.
It's not bad.
No, it's super achievable. Like and the place I stay, or the one I've stayed the last 2 times, it's a pretty decent building, and it's near a lot of very convenient stuff, and it's easy to get Grab rides to and from there because it's like kind of like a little hot spot. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I've found so far there. And yeah, very affordable, and it's really nice for a change of pace. Like I don't know, sometimes you get a little bit tired of just the same scenery every day, you know what I mean?
Arizona, am I right?
Yeah, I know.
Back to Grab though. Do you have any like any future predictions going forward?
Well,
Since you're the cult leader.
yeah, so the I feel like the cult's being co-opted by the Palantir crowd now.
I know it's odd.
I was the OG Grab cult leader March last year. Who else was talking about it?
Yeah.
But they're talking about like a double by 2027, and I think that's actually perfectly realistic. I don't think that's overly pumpy, to be honest with you. Because if we say just arbitrarily that it's worth what it trades for today, and their financials improve at the rate they're improving, $10 isn't too much of a stretch, right? Because that would put them at like a 40-ish billion market cap. And that's still only like a small fraction of what Uber is, right? And that's kind of like the test with this company, because obviously Uber has the US and Europe and stuff. So they're worth, it's just a bigger opportunity, right? Because they have such a bigger piece of like the world economy. But Grab can certainly be worth a certain percentage of what Uber is ultimately worth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the X factor of the financial services part of it, right?
Yeah.
Which, who knows what that part of it could be worth. But since that part isn't profitable yet, I haven't really been I'm not hanging my hat on that, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not making any kind of overly optimistic assumptions about it, but it does look good so far.
Do you have any thoughts on management at all? It's not on Roger Over level, is it?
So the interesting thing about their board of directors, the CEO of Uber is actually on Grab's board of directors. So I think that's a big positive for them, that they have that relationship. And so Anthony Tan is he's the current CEO, and he's one of the co-founders. So it does, I think, meet the definition of a founder-led business. And I know a lot of people care pretty heavily about founder-led businesses. Like a lot of people got out of Amazon when Bezos handed it over to Jassy, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know his exact stake, like how much Grab stock he has, but he is one of Singapore's richest people, and his total net worth, like, he's not quite a billionaire, but he's close.
Murata gamer in the finance community.
Another thing also on management, when they do their earnings calls, because I've listened to quite a few at this point, they do like 3 minutes of prepared remarks and then spend like 45 to 50 minutes on just analyst question after analyst question. And they let each analyst ask 2 questions.
Oh, that's great. 2 per.
Yeah. So, and they even let some of them stretch. Like one of them, like, was like, well, I've got to follow up to what the last guy said, but then I've got 2 other questions, and they like let him do it. They're not stingy at all with letting people.
I respect that.
Yeah, and they're generally pretty detailed and good with actually addressing the actual question and not like giving some kind of like the politician like answers
Yeah.
that some CEOs give to the questions they don't like.
We're reevaluating that stuff. That's something
Yeah.
we're going to have to look at.
Yeah, it seems like they've kind of at least thought through or thought of a little bit most of the things the analysts asked them about, but a lot of the stuff was questions about autonomous driving and stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, if you've ever been to most parts of Southeast Asia, like you know, you kind of
Yeah, any like other country, like even like talking like the Bahamas,
like you could.
very
So honestly, like the best place to do autonomous driving would probably be like Seoul, South Korea, Tokyo, Japan, like very, very highly developed and very like organized and orderly cities where like the traffic is very predictable and such. But like places with either poorly developed infrastructure or really, really crumbly infrastructure, or places where people don't really predictably follow any kind of traffic laws, it's probably not, I would imagine, easy to implement. Heck, it's not even easy to implement in most places in the US. Like Uber had their robo taxi run over a pedestrian down here in Tempe.
actually when
It was like 2017, 2018, something like that. I rode in one of Uber's autonomous cars back then in like 2017, 2018.
that'd have been so awkward.
Not
being
in the
a
one that ran
passenger
over
in
the pedestrian, but
That would have
in
been just
one.
so awkward. Imagine you're like in a. It's like, okay, stop. It just runs.
Yeah.
That's
Well, actually, so it was still like there were people in it like monitoring it for the tests and stuff. So I got in, and it's not like I was in the car by myself. There was two guys with laptops in the front.
yeah.
It kind of like they were kind of like explaining to me what they were looking at and how it worked and stuff, and it was pretty cool. But
Did you see the clip of that AI robot that like started swinging on people in Asia?
no, was it an Optimus Prime robot?
It looked like it was like a concert or something, and it just started swinging on people in Asia. I gotta pull this up, but it was like scary how realistic it was, and I'm getting Age of Ultron flashbacks now.
Yeah,
Asia robot AI fight.
Actually, he brings up a good point.
Hey, can we get the shout out to CFKs? I love that. For having Raj from High Tide comment on their X. Well said. We now we need epic moment. Yeah, it was an epic moment for CFKs. I can't debate that. Yeah, this is it though. This is like actually pretty wild. Pull it up. Play one more time. It was a little scary how realistic it was.
Is anybody here familiar with the Terminator franchise? This is how it starts, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back.
Doesn't look like Mr. Capital Mindset will be joining us tonight, unfortunately.
Did he tell you that, or is he MIA?
It's been an hour. TMI. It's not looking good. He's on vacation. What do you expect? We'll still go for another 10, 20 minutes.
So how about some more grab financials on Finchat?
Grab financials on Finchat. What would you like to look at?
I mean, let's start with the revenue. Start with that top line.
Revenue is always a fun one. Revenue. I will make that.
By the way, go back up. People have been criticizing them for the lack of growth.
Actually?
Yeah, really.
I was hearing that they weren't like profitable, or that's what I was hearing.
Yeah, so you get some of that too. But I mean, you remember now, unfortunately, the data feed shows total free cash flow, not adjusted, but you could see that that's not the case. Do they have EBITDA on here?
EBITDA. Who doesn't love EBITDA? Area. That is EBITDA.
Yeah. Interesting. Because I know they do an adjustment on that as well. I'm not sure what for. Now do net income.
Who comes for net income? I know
Yeah.
I do. Let's see. Net income.
You see, no, do it quarterly actually.
Quarterly?
Don't mind. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So
are you expecting this to kind of get more consistently rising to the right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now the net income is probably gonna lag the free cash flow side of things, which is why I generally look at the adjusted free cash flow for like my own personal view of their profitability, because again, EBITDA is already adjusted for a bunch of things, and then when they do adjusted EBITDA, it's like, okay, you're adjusting an adjusted metric by that point. So like let's take a look at like free cash flow. Now the adjustment they make on free cash flow makes sense because the basic number actually inflates it, so the adjustment actually like brings it back down to the real level, basically. And that number was 61 million in the most recent quarter, and comparable quarter the prior year was 1 million. So a 61x increase. And
we may be going longer, Fiscal. Mr. Capital Mindset is coming on now.
Oh, all right. I
Yep,
come for income.
Yep, we come for income. He will be on any moment now.
Oh, well, this is a pleasant surprise. I'm happy to I can always go another round if you know what I mean.
Well said. Thank you for tuning in.
We really appreciate you coming in and participating in the chat.
Well said.
And yeah, thank you, and hope that anything else you have, just comment on the recording.
Well said.
So, pull up the. Do you have a net cash or net debt by chance?
What does Finchat not have?
Finchat's got a lot of things, and this is one of my favorite things.
This is
net
net debt.
cash?
This is debt.
Is it net though?
Yeah.
Because it should be showing net cash, not net debt.
Oh, okay. I'll do net cash too. Let's see. Net cash from discounted operations.
So net debt should be the difference between debt and it's either net cash or net debt, depending on whether they have more cash or more debt. And they have more cash. That's the reason.
Okay. We'll see if I can. Maybe I jinxed it. Let's see if we can cash and equivalents. I'll see if we can get that up there.
You broke it.
Broke it. Yeah, this is what I'm seeing for net debt. Oh no. Welcome in a little late, but that's about the principle.
Actually, you know what?
Warning.
I think I get it now, Ryan, because it's showing the net debt as negative, so it's showing it as negative debt because the amount it's negative is the amount of cash that they have.
I've never seen Fabio without a brick thing in the background. This is hilarious.
I've actually just never seen net debt expressed in this way, but yeah, they've got like they've got between $5.5 and $6 billion in net cash or net cash liquidity. And for some reason it shows as a negative number, but I guess negative debt is positive cash. That's a quirk in Finchat, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Fabio, we already talked about a lot of our theses with a good old grab, but for those who don't know, what's your allocation right now, man? Good old grab.
No, it's frankly quite small. It's I don't know if you guys, what's your allocations? Single digit percentages, high, almost double digit?
So mine in the so-called value portfolio, the one that like I talk about, and my Schwab basically.
Yeah.
It's well, after the run up, it's over 10%, like around 12% now.
Oh, that's very respectable. Yeah.
Yeah.
For myself, it's in the low single digits. I would, the way we talked in the DMs about the position sizing, that's basically how I have my so I don't have shares per se, but I do have like a creative slew of contracts, similar to TSSI. But the one thing that's kind of interesting, have you guys noticed that some of the things with the data aggregators are a little bit quirky with Grab?
Yeah, that's we were just looking at some of that stuff. Well, there's the free cash flow, for example, from data feeds will show deposits from their banking side, which is why on their financials they adjust those out for adjusted free cash flow, because otherwise their free cash flow looks artificially inflated.
Yeah,
that's one of the quirks, but I'm sure there's others.
It's similar to Mercado Libre, where in their case, like, because they have a banking portion of the business, it makes the free cash flow look all wonky. And you gotta parse through IFRS and the differences. Free cash flow with IFRS is calculated slightly differently than GAAP, and sometimes data aggregators, they just, don't parcel through.
And I stressed that in my last video on them, is like if you want to actually know what the free cash flow is, you have to look at the number where they adjust for the banking segment. Otherwise, you're going to get a completely inaccurate
Amit from Twitter didn't tell me that, Fiscal.
Oh, okay. So have you guys discussed, did you guys see I know you, Fiscal, you enjoyed that tweet that I gave when someone was asking, like, what's the thesis? Or what's the catalyst?
The catalyst.
And I was like, catalyst? What? The retards are coming. What are you talking about?
9 p.m. mark, everybody.
The retards are coming, and they came, and they came, and some of them went, and they might come back again. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a discussion per se on Grab, but the retards are definitely in the market. I'll say that. Depending on what data point you want to focus on. Well, I don't know if you guys want to get into that, but
we can.
You guys are the hosts.
It's after hours.
It is.
It's after hours. Okay, perfect. I only just got to my dwelling, so to speak, because I'm not in my home state. I'm traveling.
You don't have the brick wall behind you.
No brick wall. No, I'm visiting my friend in med school. So,
it's funny. The viewers actually popped up by like +10 when Fabio joined. It's the capital mindset bump.
I didn't even tell it. No, I didn't even say I'm going on right now to anyone. So it can't be that. This is natural. So if you look at, for example, margin debt's at a relative high, although critics, or kind of a counterpoint, which I think is equally as valid, is if you adjust for inflation, it's not at an all-time high. So of course, because if you do that adjustment, we have still more room to run before we hit that peak point, which is like the argument that could be made, saying that this, pardon my French, but retard run could continue just a little bit longer. But it would suggest 2025 may be a near-term topping point. I'm not one for making market prediction or timing the market and selling out of everything, but I did make a call last week to go short beta and try to think defensively at this point, more than aggressive.
So if the retard run's not over, basically 2025 is probably going to be the last year of the quote bull market, potentially.
Okay, so the problem is with this is if you look at the constituency of the the index, there could be an argument for much of the larger components being not unreasonably valued. However, and I'll use the word regarded instead of retarded, because I feel like it's also funnier because they call themselves regarded.
They're Wall Street Bets regards.
Exactly. So the regards, let's just say they're funneled into a specific set of stocks. Those are going to be the most sensitive. Those are going to tend to have also higher beta. You might clearly point them out as also being disconnected somewhat from the fundamentals. Of course, their investor base will make all these reasons as to why it's not, but they have high retail participation. If you actually look at some of the data flow suggesting like what are the most popular retail stocks. They're, it's pretty consistent. And then you look at, of course, on YouTube, there is a high correlation between popularity on YouTube and then the following list of popular retail stocks. That all makes sense. And it could be a case where we could see a massive correction or pullback, let's say a healing process. And there is, in some data that we saw last year, skepticism from institutional investors. So we don't have euphoria on both fronts. If we have euphoria on both fronts, that tends to be a poor setup. But because we have skepticism on one front and euphoria on another front, because if you look at who bought the dips in the past couple recent mini dips, it was all retail. Retail flooded in like never before. So that could make the case that the index could have an okay to fairly good year. It's not a guarantee. It's a case, right? This is what some people are saying. But you could see a correction in retail, which, by the way, happened in 2021. Did you guys remember that in 2021, I'll call them, pardon my French, the shit stocks, they peaked out in February, March. The rest of 2021 was terrible for them. And it started with, of course, like the NFTs. The NFTs crashed. Mm-hmm. Then the shit stocks crashed, mm-hmm. followed, crypto and all that. And then the market rolled over into 2022. So those are like your canaries in the coal mine, so to speak. But given where we were, at least in end of Q4, institutional investors were a little bit more skeptical. There's a bit maybe over participation in the Mag 7. A little bit. Yeah, and we did see a lot of rebalancing. So if you look at, for example, PepsiCo, Mondelez, Nestle, through the safe bets, Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, you saw a huge rotation out and some relative strength very recently in Johnson & Johnson, in Coca-Cola, which suggests, some conservative positioning is ongoing right now.
Well, Coke is always a buy according to Dividend, dude. You know what stock is also did really nice in 2021? Target.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I got out.
Retail is showing a lot of relative strength. Like I can't sit here and talk to you like how Walmart is trading at where it's trading. I don't know.
It's looking pretty good here at 95.
Yeah, well, I mean, Walmart and Costco, 40 times earnings, 50 times earnings, just buy them,
Value.
But surely the growth justifies such a multiple.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hey, Apple's looking pretty good at 220.
Have you heard of the ecosystem?
I've heard that they get to charge 30% for everything on their app store.
Yeah, dude. Apple One.
Yeah. Everybody has an iPhone, haven't you heard? I've also heard Apple Pay is going to put PayPal out of business. So, can't go wrong.
No.
So you're saying I shouldn't buy SHG, basically?
No. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying there is a case where SCHG still could do well. We could see a healthy correction in the shit stocks. When I say shit stock, I'm saying high retail participation stock. You can think of them, and you probably know which ones they are.
My imagination.
It could happen, but I will say I would not be surprised if that just is like some sort of canary signal where it's saying like, oh, okay, we're kind of going to have this broader correction too. But because we don't have both having a euphoria, institutional and retail, we have institutional skepticism, retail euphoria. That scenario still makes it that the case could be, SCHG could do well, your S&P index could do fairly well. And I say fairly well, or let's be more precise, relatively well. Yeah. I'm not making a prediction or saying like anyone saying what the, let's go, 30% rise, et cetera. No, nothing like that. It's just on a relative basis. Like you don't have to see a crash in the whole market for the retail shit to correct. Because when you have the retail, when the regarded stocks, a lot of it isn't supported on anything, just some other regard who will buy or pay for a higher price for it. And we got into a point where, you know, both a lot of these regarded stocks, they got into severe overbought territory. Some actually went through a bit of a short squeeze, frankly. If you just look at the short interest pre and post recent run up, that's effectively what happened. It's pretty obvious. And then, well, maybe you could add some anecdotal commentary from retail investors saying, you know, they're the next Buffett, investing is easy, Buffett's washed, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've been seeing a lot of that, but
yeah, Buffett's always over the hill whenever the regards are making the most money, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
You
His
know what is
style
getting
of
ridiculous?
investing doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
It's a new world.
Yeah.
So something, I mean, I've noticed, just like, because Amazon is technically my largest holding still, like there's definitely some, well, it feels like a little bit of a correction in or loss of enthusiasm in Amazon and Google, which is interesting. Like, because now I mean, a few weeks ago it was Uber's gonna, you know, before what's his name bought in and pumped Uber. Uber's gonna go down because Google has Waymo, and now it's Google's gonna go down because LLMs are gonna replace Google search. I mean, it seems almost comical how the narrative is like Uber's going down because Google's got this thing that's going to take over the world. Well, now Google's going to go down because someone else has this other thing that's going to take over the world. It's silly. And I personally think Google is relatively attractive here. Like, if you look at their growth and their valuation compared to something like a Costco or a Walmart, it's like, what are people even looking at?
Yeah. Well, watch out what happens on Monday. Do you know what the new narrative that's throwing around? And it's hilarious because one of the guys in the club, he was asking us, like, we were all kind of in a voice call, and then he said, I'm only telling your audience this, by the way. Because I haven't even gone live. I haven't gone live to have any of these discussions. So this is the first time I'm talking about all this publicly. We were like, or not we, he said, we need to spread this as much as possible. So we cause a lot of panic, because if as many of us in the club like and retweet this and engage with this, other people will see it, like, engage with it, and they could spread like wildfire across FinTwit. But there's like some legitimacy. So it's like, it stemmed from this Microsoft interview where Nadella was discussing, AI infra. And some of the people who are proposing this bearish take are just taking a clip, right? And then in that clip, you can interpret it as saying, we're going to be cutting down CapEx effectively. We're looking for, we're looking at the rate of return. We don't maybe see it as we're trying to match supply and demand. And so now this narrative is picking up where they're saying Microsoft is going to pull back its CapEx, which was a fear after, DeepSeek. The reason why the DeepSeek sell-off happened was not because of, because people have this weird non-understanding of like the spend that goes into AI development, because they have this figure of view that AI is an LLM. And it's AI is like an umbrella term, and there's so many things that go into there. One of those things is an LLM, and the head of AI at Meta even discussed rough figures with us. He did not say the exact number. When I say us, I mean the public, not us as in just Capital Mindset. Was in the tens of millions for just the LLM component. It's the infra that costs the billions. Of course, when you listen to a journalist talk about this, they take the infra build out and they say that's the spend on AI. But anyways, we could get into that actually deeper. But for the point of what I was just making or saying, the reason for the sell-off was if they're going to have lower spend on infra, all of these adjacent supporting businesses, suddenly their businesses, their pipelines are going to severely contract. And we had a couple recent developments in the energy side, which I'll get to in just a sec, but focusing on what's happening with Microsoft. Now we're seeing, rumors coming out that Microsoft is canceling data centers. And so what's going to happen Monday? What do you guys think? I'm excited because I have a short position on some.
I think NBIS is going to zero. That's you heard it here first because we talked about it.
NBIS. I won't make a comment on NBIS. I will say NBIS is a little. There's a lot of story. Yes, I don't know if zero, but there's a lot of story there. So if you guys had a short position at NBIS, that's not how I'm positioned, but I could see that working out. There is some companies out there. You guys know the ticker. I just want to say one of your members, Fiscal, was long. I think a couple of you guys were long this. You're definitely not long this, and you would look at this company and be like, ew, disgusting. Wise young investor Andrew has talked about this being a short. So, and they do it. They have a data center. So they're the excess supply play on data center, that there's going to be, not enough supply, and they have a data center, but they're a crap business and they would somehow succeed. So a lot of that, all the adjacent businesses probably going to sell off on Monday, even more than they already have. Like, this narrative is really picking steam. I'm quite excited. And that has potentially broader implications. I don't know what the Mag 7 are going to do. NVIDIA under that narrative would definitely get hit.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know.
I mean, their chips are what's supposed to power all this AI, right? So you'd think.
Yes. And that's where we get into this question, right? Of some of the Mag 7 like Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet. Well, what happens to them if CapEx drops? So I've had this debate with some of the skeptics, right? And some of the skeptics of AI spend. When I get down to the conversation with them, what they argue is the following: the AI spend is trash, as in it has no ROI. And then when I hear that, I'm like, okay, so if you guys are my bosses, right? You guys have a company. I work for you. I'm a capital allocator. I'm one of your executives, whatever. But I'm helping you guys make financial decisions. And then you just trust me with all the money. And I say, oh yeah, for CapEx for this company, doesn't matter what company it is. For this example, we're going to buy a bunch of chairs. And then I'm going to go to the office. I'm going to buy a chair for everyone. And then I'm going to buy a second chair for everyone. I'm going to buy a third chair for everyone. And my fourth chair. The reason why I'm using chairs is a great way we can all think about this and say that clearly has a maximum point of return on investment. Once everyone has a chair, we should be done. But I'm multiple chairs. So that implies the following investment past the one chair per one ratio is a zero return. We're not going to generate any form of return on that. So what happens, for example, you guys find out and you're like, what the hell? You fire me and then you stop the CapEx. What happens to the free cash flow of your business? Should go.
It exploded.
Yeah.
So under the assumption that the AI investment is baloney, which first of all, we have to basically say that the management teams at Meta are lying, and that their returns that they've gotten, the margin expansion they received, was not from the investments they made. Their internal tool sets that apparently have higher accuracy for targeting ads is not. They're all lying about that. That's the assumption. They're all lying about that. And what you're actually saying is that the free cash flow of these companies just expand because, and you're also saying that because those investments are BS, it's just all these extra chairs, right, that Meta is spending on, that the real free cash flow of Meta is way higher than what they're currently reporting, is what the implication is of that argument. So I've used some of the companies like Meta, Microsoft, Google as both a beneficiary in either way, because the argument usually presented by the skeptics is like, effectively what you're saying is the real free cash flow of these companies is regardedly high.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you look at either Google or Amazon, for example, right now, if you greatly reduced CapEx, they'd be trading for like 17 times free cash flow or something stupid like that. Mm. Whereas, again, something that isn't growing that much, like Walmart, that has like 2% net margins, is for some reason worth like 40x, and something like Apple that is growing at like 1.5% a year or something is also worth like 37x or something. It defies reason.
Well, Starbucks is 42x. I hate to pull up there.
Yeah, it defies reason in my opinion. And I think I tend to think that like at the levels they're at even now, that probably at least Alphabet and Amazon. I don't know as much about Meta, but I know you're heavily in Meta. Might look actually still pretty reasonable even today.
Yeah.
Like in retrospect, a couple of years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was unusual activity on the call side for Meta. A lot of buys for this. It doesn't mean anything, by the way. A lot of people think this means a lot, but people put too much credence to this. But there was a lot of call volume buying for the January 1,200 strike for Meta, which is insane. I mean, I'll be retired like 7 times over by that point. But I don't know what all that money is thinking. Because I mean, like, again, I'd be happy. I'd probably, be looking for the door at that point,
Right?
Because that would be at that point over.
At some point, a win is a win is a win, right?
Yeah, it'll be well over a 10x at that point. So, well, actually, I'll say this: it depends on like what the growth rate they have, and then maybe it makes sense. I just don't know. We have to really see what they do this year.
Mm-hmm.
But thus far, they've really impressed, I think, everyone. Mark Zuckerberg went from being this dumb CEO to being now almost loved. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you had people like, I think Chamath is famous for it because he used a Bloomberg source. I saw where it came from because I just rewatched the video not too long ago because someone sent me as a joke. It's like, remember when Chamath said that they were going to spend more than the Apollo program on Reality Labs? Which, by the way, I don't even know where Bloomberg got that number from, because that was on infra spend. And I even made videos at that time. So I was like, we were looking at the same public financial documents, and this narrative, right, that seems to was very powerful, that Meta was going to spend a ton of money on, remember that virtual reality figure?
No, so I remember the stock went down because people like weren't impressed by the legs on Mark Zuckerberg's AI, or not AI, virtual reality avatar or whatever. Like that was one of the things, like when you heard people like dogging on how bad Meta was in like 2022, that was one of the things. All this money and all they're giving us is legs in the virtual reality. This is so stupid. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know why that narrative was so rampant. And
yeah, it was literally, it looked completely dumb and disconnected from from like the actual reality of how much money Meta was generating. It's like, it looks like they make a lot of money to me. And isn't that what matters more than Zuckerberg's avatar legs? A little bit, maybe. Yeah.
So how did you hear about Grab? And what's kind of your Fiscal?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
yeah. After the first time we had him on the show, I pitched him Grab. Like when you were waiting on me for the weekly recap that one time, and I took forever.
Oh my god,
that's what I was doing. Yeah.
By the way, I'm a big believer in always pointing to the proper source of where you got something from. Because why? Because if you don't, sometimes, because it's a sign of, it's a good sportsmanship and respect. Because if at the end of the day, all we're doing in investing is we want to make money, and if Fiscal gives me a good idea, right, I want him to in the future be inclined to give me another good idea. And if I say, for example, in this instance, I didn't get it from Fiscal, I got it from myself or someone else, then Fiscal will be like, what the hell? And then he'll say like, next time I'm not going to tell him.
So who's credit gets for the triple cross play? The triple cross play.
That is a collaborative effort. That is a collaborative effort that the CM community kind of realized. I forget exactly what members and myself, kind of realized, but I know it was myself, Andrew, and maybe like 2 other people. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean, I think did everybody get high tide from Blake? Is that the OG source for everybody? Yeah.
Blake's 100% the source of high tide.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, actually, it's a little weird to say, but I think you helped me make my decision on Amazon because like I spoke to you about it briefly. Like I was like leaning towards it and I was like, I don't know, do I pull the trigger? And you helped push me over the edge. Thanks for helping edge me.
There you go. Hey, see, we're all in this
After hours, Ryan.
Yeah, it is after hours, to be fair.
But yeah, with and you know, I have to then go back and say, technically, Beater was the first person in my Discord to ever mention Grab. It was literally like a 1-sentence throwaway comment where he was like, "Has anybody looked at Grab? It looks maybe interesting." I happened to be in Manila, Philippines at the time, and I was sick. And so I started like pulling it up and I'm like, this doesn't look too bad. And then I get back and look at it more and started just picking up shares. It's kind of a crazy little story.
Don't tell me, did Beater not buy the stock that he just mentioned as well?
No, I don't think he's in it at all. Yeah.
He's in Chegg, an even better company.
Yeah, he just like he just literally kind of mentioned it. The thing is, when I was buying it, I couldn't even remember who it was that brought it up because it was just like a random, like little throwaway comment. But I didn't know when I was using the service dozens of times over 3 trips. I had no idea that they were publicly traded until like that one random comment came up in the Discord. I was like, wait a minute, that's a publicly traded company. And it's just weird how the inspiration can just kind of randomly come across. The value of Discord, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it's value of network.
Fabio, I'm going to bring a big smile to your face. I sold my Target at a 14% loss, and I put most of it into Amazon.
Okay.
That immediate.
Okay. The reason why that is still okay. We are still probably earlier innings for some of, let's say, the growth that Amazon could get in the next couple of years over AWS and advertising. Meta is really surprising me because I had a prediction that Amazon advertising would be bigger than Meta 2022 advertising revenue within the decade. But that had nothing to do with Meta's current, but Meta is surprising me because they're growing faster than Amazon's advertising business and off of a larger base. Like
that's actually crazy because Meta is like, they're like top 2, right? Them and Alphabet, right? Mm-hmm. with online ads. So the fact that they're growing faster than Amazon in that space off of that already existent, like that's actually kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's incredible. A lot of it, again, it's due just to the improvements they've made on the targeting algorithm. So their internal tool sets, which again, under that investment of AI is included in that, their prediction models have just gotten out of hand. They're so good. And I think they're going to get only even better because the data that they're able to gather on people through their various apps makes the ads even better. Like they've actually gotten me once in the last 6 months. And I'm someone who considered myself like very like ad adverse, like ads don't work on me. Ads on YouTube have never worked. I've never bought or participated in any product ever advertised to me on YouTube. I can't say that about Meta anymore. I bought a bespoke product that I thought was really cool. And that means that Meta knew that I would be into it.
Confession. I actually bought something, those like displate metal posters that people like to buy. They're like they have like a stick-on magnet you could put on the wall, and then it's really easy to like move them around and stuff. Found them on Instagram, and that's also Meta. So yeah, they got me too. Like,
I mean, the YouTube ads are not very convincing though. You'll get like I'll have something on in the background. It's like, did you know that if you bought Nvidia stock, you could have over 50x your investment?
That's why it should shock you, because genuinely, YouTube ads, Google's ads. I think Google searches ads are obviously a lot better because if I'm searching for something, usually the thing I'm actually even looking for will be at the top anyways as an ad, which is hilarious. But in terms of predicting what I want, which is there's predictive advertisement and almost like I'm making up my own words, a certainty advertisement. Certainty advertisement is like Amazon. Again, these are made up words. There's probably a technical definition for someone who's like a marketing degree. I'm not a marketing degree. I took like, everyone's standard for accounting. You have to take the standard one. Marketing class.
Step one, you have to whet their appetite.
Yeah. In Amazon, right? I search, I'm gonna go buy a blanket, right? And then so I search blanket, and then all the blanket sellers are like, oh, he wants to buy a blanket. Put me in front of him. So that's like, the certainty, right? We know what he wants. And then Instagram, YouTube, they're predictive. They're like, okay, you're trying to watch a content on, I don't know, whatever you're into, because we all know that Ryan over here is watching like ASMR stuff, all the time. He loves that. He gets off on that. But anyways, so YouTube has to predict that Ryan is like, he's watching this one video, but it's like, okay, we think he's gonna like this. But he's not intentionally going on YouTube to buy that product. But in the case of Meta, it's the same thing. But in Meta's case, I feel like their ads are just
and it's like literally because a lot of those metal posters, they're either from like movies, comics, that kind of thing. A lot of Marvel stuff on there, and they probably like tangentially see that like I'll watch like nostalgic nerd stuff from like the 90s if it comes up in a reel, like X-Men or Spider-Man or whatever, or random like anime stuff or random like movies, and they're like, okay, this guy probably wants something in that category,
and then they advertise you a blow up doll.
And the pictures on Instagram, especially, like they're really good at making things look presentable in a way that where you like actually want to like swipe through like the different pictures they have of what the posters actually look like and stuff. And it's like, oh, all right, this actually looks kind of neat.
Yeah.
And it just hits in a way that like ads on a video don't. It's like video ads feel like an interruption in a way that makes you just want to like tune it out and skip it or do whatever you can to make it go away. Versus like when you're just kind of scrolling IG casually and something just catches your eye and you stop on it, it's like a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Hans.
But interesting that we talk about AI, because Grab actually said AI. I lost count of how many times on the most recent earnings, and they talked about like autonomous driving for some reason. And part of the like AI narrative I think they have is they have like this sort of I call it like an algorithm or a model. I try not to throw AI around too much because it's such a buzzword now that it's become amorphous and lost its definition in a way.
It has.
But their financial services, to make loan decisions, they actually use like some type of predictive model, I'll say, that helps them basically keep their default rate at like 2%, which in Southeast Asia is actually pretty good. In the US, they shoot for like, I think 1%, most banks, but 2%, I suppose, is pretty good for Southeast Asia, where like per capita GDP is like $4,000 or $5,000. To be able to have like a 98% success rate with loans you issue in that kind of environment, seems like it's pretty good.
I'll say this about Grab too. One of my guys in the club, he works for I won't discuss the company because it's not as important, but he works in the fintech space, and he does a lot of market research on their competition and adjacent as well. So Grab is included in the adjacent market category just because it has a fintech component. And one of the things he noted, which was very impressive, is their ability to get a banking license in the jurisdiction of Singapore. So that is actually was explained to me as a feat in and of itself, because there's very few foreign entities or international entities that can achieve such a thing. And so there's a few actually jurisdictions that Grab has a banking license within that are considered to be difficult. So just the fact that they have that is in and of itself kind of like a trophy for Grab that people may not appreciate as much. So within that, financial super app, which is like also kind of speaks to the difference in cultures, right? In the United States, it doesn't seem to be a product that has worked. I guess in the West.
Yeah. Everything apps. Yeah. Like people, for whatever reason, like Uber even separates out food delivery from rides, which seems absurd. Like, actually that was one of the things I enjoyed about the Grab, like, experience when I went over there is like, hey, like I have one app for like all the different things. Like if I need to like order food to my room that I'm staying in, perfect. I go to the same place that I go if I need to order like a car to take me somewhere or something. It's very convenient. And I imagine, having it for your, like I had the app open earlier and I saw like things for like bill pay and like a bunch of other stuff. It's like, hey, I could see the appeal to just like losing the phone clutter and being able to do so many things just in one place, essentially.
Yeah.
And I actually don't even really, after experiencing it, don't even understand why we insist on separating stuff out so much, especially when it's like two apps owned by the same company to provide like kind of a similar on-demand service.
Yeah. Uber Eats app and Uber app.
I know that it's mind blowing that we, for some reason, prefer it, or we, as in the colloquial we in the West, for some reason seem to prefer it that way, and I don't understand it.
Yeah. So when's Khmer going to shit?
It's already happening. I mean, it's already happening, right? So he's consolidating. Well, the birdies have told me, because I'm not in a server, but the birdies have told me he's consolidating into Misty, MSTY, and he's constantly, at least in the Robinhood account, he's constantly on the verge of a margin call. We know that the one account that's like entirely loaned, I mean, that one I think he's still green on, but he's still red, hilariously red in the other one. And then the other one's only temporary because his strategy is completely flawed. I think someone did the back end math on how much the total return on Tesla versus Tesla was, for example, and it was close to 80-something%, even with Tesla's pullback. And then for Tesla, it was like I think it didn't even reach 40. So, and then that's excluding tax implications, because yes, taxes do matter, and yes, the more money you have, the more it matters. And then Khmer, who wants to be rich, will soon figure that out if he ever gets there, but he's probably not going to ever get there. So yes, taxes really, 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 really do matter, and you do have to account net tax. There's the meme, of course, the tax for mine door. You guys know that meme? It's like, actually, actually, your gains are not that high. But that's neither here or there. I think when we're seeing yes. This was the other message I received from the birds. The birds have told me that you had to sell stocks recently.
Oh yeah. I heard that too.
Okay, so you have the same birds.
Yeah, I heard that he had to sell common stock. Or no, but his narrative is that he's doing it willingly to put more into Misty.
It's gonna keep going. It's gonna keep going up and up and up, and our income, we don't want to work.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, it's very fascinating.
You right now, because the thing with like Bitcoin, I know you might have some Bitcoin watchers right now. I don't know if you do in your fan base, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's probably the most regarded asset in
yes,
the planet.
Yeah, it is. It just.
Yeah, because it's only as much as the next regard is willing to pay for it.
Yeah, that's literally the only. Like there's have you seen the meme like of what happens when you ask somebody for the like intrinsic value of Bitcoin?
No, I've not seen it, but yeah. I can imagine.
Yes. It's that we got to find it later. I'll if I can find it, I'll send it to you on Discord.
Yeah. with MicroStrategy though, did you guys know that there's a few Bitcoin fintechs that recently IPO'd? They SPAC'd. Yes, that's still happening.
The SPACs are back.
Yes, FLD, I think is the ticker. I'm not going to say it's a good short candidate and should be shorted, but it's already down. It's already down to like $7. It's probably going to go down more, because none of these end well. But we're already seeing that. So if you want top signal number 773, there's that one. You had that hack recently that just happened last week.
Oh, yeah.
I forget the financial institution that it's not an institution. It's some startup out there that's like some sort of bank, and then everyone lost a lot of Ethereum, I believe it was.
Oh yeah. I've heard of the Ethereum hack.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. It's all regarded.
Focus on the strong man because we pay him in Ethereum.
We live in a world where you have the regards who are bullish quantum, and then simultaneously regards that are bullish, crypto, and both of them are regards, right? But they're regards that are against each other and don't know. Sometimes they're almost counter each other. Which some of them, the regards in the quantum space, have narratives against the regards in the crypto space, and the crypto space regards have arguments. I posted a meme on Twitter about the different tiers of regards. You remember? I think you commented on this.
But counterpoint. Have you heard about the blockchain?
Yes,
It's gonna change the game.
Did you hear that it's a store of value and it's not fiat, and it's also it protects you from inflation? Haven't you heard these things?
I have.
Yeah.
And there are legitimate use cases. I called myself like a sideline cheater in effect to Bitcoin for a while, since like 2021, kind of talking about, and I say sideline cheerleader in the sense like I see that it has had some interesting use cases around the world to counter tyranny in some countries. In the case of China, where it's banned, China was one of the larger markets for it. Hilariously so, because it was a way for some Chinese citizens to get capital out of the country, because you don't want your capital in China. Unlike Americans who want to put their capital in China. That's a little different. Some Americans want to put their capital in China. Chinese people want to get their capital out of China. Funny how the world works. And then you also have the capital control restrictions within China. So you can't get your money out normally through normal means. So over the years, Chinese citizens have found creative ways through crypto, through jewelry, a whole bunch of ways to get money slowly out of their country because they don't want it there. And then also in Latin America, certain dictatorships who, are very oppressive. Some people, instead of carrying gold and, think about how much gold you could carry across the border versus a flash drive, right? You start to think about these things as like, or in the case of, like a wallet, so to speak, to be more specific. How much money could you store in a crypto wallet, and where could you hide it? How small do they get versus how much gold could you carry on your person and get out of the country? You see what I'm saying? So like the use cases were interesting from that respect, but what never changes is it's as regarded as it gets in the form of not a long-term store of value, only what the next person is willing to pay for it. And as long as there's a market for it, you're good. You could sell it for whatever that regard will pay for it. If the regard wants to pay me $500,000 for my little thing on the computer screen, oh great, all power to them. But at the end of the day, we can't kid ourselves. That is what it is. Yep. So, and then Misty is, of course, that with leverage and new interesting financial instruments applied to it. So
yeah, can you imagine being all in? Not only all in, but all in on margin. By the way, when you talked earlier about the margin being at like an all-time high, not adjusted for inflation, but in absolute terms, all-time high. Mm-hmm. That this was the first thing I thought of, is that the Misty on margin, the retards are coming. They're here. Yeah. They're here, ladies and gentlemen.
You know who suffers from all this right now? Robinhood's doing great. You know, Robinhood is like, they're killing it, right? Because Robinhood's business model is very intelligent. So they get the regards on the platform. I'll say it endearingly, retail investors. The retail investors who, a lot of them, when you look at the statistics, have really small accounts on Robinhood. The average account size in Robinhood is very small. This is either for two reasons. A lot of retail investors, for example, Strongman, he has most of his accounts at Vanguard, so most of his money at Vanguard, and he publishes his dollar figures publicly online. So it's like $500,000+ Vanguard, and then like $500 to $1,000 in Robinhood. So that contributes to the statistic as to why the account sizes are so small. So it's either, you know, some side account where they are degenerate, and then in other cases it's because it's newer investors. In any case, most of these accounts, their business model is so intelligent, where the gold product gets you that 1,000 margin free. You use it, and just like any drug, right? The first dose is free, right? I give you the first bit of crack, you know, it's like Fiscal's like, heck, oh, this is good. And the next thing you know, he's like, can I get some more?
Can I get some more of that margin?
Exactly. Can I get some more of that margin? It's like, oh, you know, what's another $1,000? Like, you just start being like Kemmer, what's another $1,000 more? And then before you know it, you have an $80,000 portfolio like Kemmer. And then he's like margined out to like 100. He's borrowing like $130,000-$140,000. That is so dumb.
He's leveraged to buy crypto on leverage with through options, through an options ETF that is also leverage.
So how do we think it goes down? That's the real question. Because I have a theory.
He's like
two.
He's like quadruple using leverage. What could go wrong?
A lot of profits from Robinhood come from the cash interest, right? And then additionally, in a major component is crypto exchange. So basically, what you can expect is Robinhood as a play, and this was the long play. The long play for Robinhood was, it's like a leverage play on retail. It's a leverage play on retail participation. And there's actually a couple leverage plays, but it's the most direct and raw, purest form to play a directionally bullish retail transaction scenario, right? And then so the opposite is true in the other direction. So if we were to see, you know, some sort of what we were discussing earlier, is like regarded stocks pullback and just
retail fleas. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not good for Robinhood. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and they offer like a great cross-sectional play for a couple themes to short, which is you want to be short beta and you want to be short, retail, right? You're basically saying, I want that exposure. Robinhood's perfect. It represents both. Now, timing that is a separate story. We could have actually already seen the top. Who knows? But that's like the theme there, and it's pretty attractive if you're looking to have, you know, long something else and then short retail times retail leverage retail, let's say, and beta.
Interesting.
But MicroStrategy is that, time to buy puts. Or buy puts. MicroStrategy is that with crypto for sure. It's if crypto falls, you'll see MicroStrategy fall harder, way harder. But I think everyone knows that. It's obvious.
Interesting. But Khmer's fleeing the country. That's our unanimous.
He'll flee if the tax man comes after him for not paying taxes.
I could just imagine.
I heard they're getting rid of the IRS, so they're getting rid of the IRS and sending us all a $5,000 check because that won't cause any inflation. Let's see.
We gave away 5 channel memberships. That's real value right there, everybody. That's what you get for sticking in 2 hours into CFK. You're a real viewer, you get some channel memberships. Do we have anything else we'd like to discuss before we hop off of here at the 2 hour mark?
I'm down to if there's anything else about Grab. I wonder when when the next wave of regards is gonna come.
The thing with regards is they're very fickle. They are very fickle.
Yeah, you saw it with the weekend pump, and then earnings wasn't. I mean, actually, the earnings was good, which but it still wasn't good enough for the regards, I guess. And so when they realized it wasn't going to 10x right then and there, they all.
Well, the regards didn't. The reason why the regards. Okay, so the regards are moving during market hours. They're not moving after market hours. The move that was down was like the aftermarket hours movement. So the regards are the momentum they're the wind of the sales that happens during market open only. The aftermarket close, it needed to be positive. So regardless of the regards would have only kept buying if Grab went up on those earnings. If it went up on earnings, you would have seen a continuous momentum upswing for Grab. But because it went down, of course, now that regards momentum may actually have died down. But who knows? Because the reason why it's not as easy to predict is because the regards follow the influencers. The regards moving packs, and they just follow pack leaders. And so if the pack leaders, stick through it, which in this case it looks like they are, that means the regards probably aren't done yet. And the regards are nothing but, if not determined. The only problem is, like I said, it's not that they're fickle. They're the term weak hands often is used, but they are. There's the
almost like the hands are made of paper or something.
There's the prisoner's dilemma with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, of course, in theory, if the regards are hyper focused on a stock, right, and they just keep buying and buying and buying and buying and buying and buying and buying, they first of all, they don't have that kind of money usually. They need just more regards to come in, but within the pool of regards, they have a limited pool of funds, and then it's a prisoner's dilemma amongst them, right? Where it's like, okay, if we hold together strong, the price won't go down, but it takes a couple folding, and then you're off to the races in the other direction. So that's why cult stocks are, dangerous to short, right? Because if you do have like enough true cult believers, because all a price movement is, if it's going up, there's more buyers and sellers. If it's going down, there's more sellers and buyers. Mathematically, that's all it is. There's nothing more complicated than that.
It's literally supply and demand.
Exactly.
Their appetite wasn't whet enough to keep buying. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But watch out. The cult leaders, the pack leaders, they're still kind of going at it. They're having their Twitter spaces. They're doing their thing. And if Grab does end up becoming, because I think what Grab is Grab for a lot of these guys is they missed Uber.
Yep.
They missed Uber, and you have international Uber over there. Yep. And it's like, Uber, oh, this one hasn't moved up yet.
Yeah,
this one isn't on all-time highs yet.
I keep pushing hey man, it's like Uber and SoFi in one app, because that's another one of their favorites.
Oh yeah, SoFi.
Yeah. Yep, that's a fan favorite. It's also a regard favorite, I think. Yeah.
Then you also have maybe you throw in, they should start doing some AI stuff. So then they call them the Palantir.
Well, they literally, I lost count at how many times the words A and I came out in the conference call, and I think it was mainly because they were asked about autonomous driving, and I think like it led to like a tangent or something, but still, like, AI has come up on their earnings calls. So my prediction is that, or my thinking on it as a regard stock is that the Palantir pumpers, like, they got their big win on Palantir. Now they're looking for their next hit. And so what better thing is there than, it's like Uber and SoFi, and also they use AI. It's like a perfect regard storm. But there is actually like something fundamentally there that is good at the same time. So we don't necessarily, like, I feel like we don't necessarily need the regards to pump it for it to do well, but it's nice to know that they're in our corner, I guess.
Yeah. I think, yeah, if the regards get too carried away, I don't think there's anything wrong with looking for at least an exit in some of your position, because you're selling it to a regard who's willing to pay you maybe a ridiculous price. I know that, he's in the audience, Bacon, he did that. He was in the position, the regards came, and he took a prudent approach of saying, look, the regards are suddenly willing to pay a ton of money for not much has changed. And he took profits, I think, on just the call options portion of the trade. And I think he kept his comments. Because in the case of call options, they're going to be more sensitive to that spike in volatility in the directional volatility.
They're gonna pump like extra. Yeah.
It's
And if you can get like, and then since they're also time bound, like take your win,
Exactly.
For sure.
I'll say this because my high tide positioning is in such a way that right now, if actually I'll talk about it specifically. So I actually switched out the comments for calls, all calls. So I have calls, puts, and then I basically have this nice little, fancy little spread that makes me feel smart. But in the case of high tide, let's say the regards come for high tide, and you give me a nice spike up suddenly, right? I'm out of the calls.
Oh yeah,
I'm out of the calls.
Up, like, do you have like an approximate like price where like it becomes more worth it to you to just take the W than keep waiting?
Like if we break in a very short period of time, like we're talking about, and I'm talking about where your vol, your IV just spikes like crazy,
right?
Rough estimate, like if suddenly the regards come and we get to like $4 very quick,
like on Monday.
The
regards come on Monday.
Over a week, right? We get like a run over a week. I'm probably out of the calls, because at the end of the day, for those contracts, that value spike, it's going to be worth it to take profits. The shares, I don't know, you can make an argument to keep shares. So if I had like a combination, maybe keep the shares, but the contracts specifically be very sensitive to that sudden move. It might actually end up being overvalued.
When the fickle regards leave, you could probably get the contracts again for less, but keep the money you made the first time around.
Things can calm down, the IV can come back to normal, and then we can come back in. But that's just an example of a hypothetical if it didn't happen. I think Bacon did that. He thought that exact same thing with Grab. He's like, I got my commons, I got my contracts, my calls. The regards came. You got this nice quick pump. Take profits on the calls.
I mean, Bacon is actually, and he brings up a good point. Volatility matters.
It does, because options are not just directional, right? It's directional,
time and volatility.
Yep. It's all your Greeks. All your Greeks matter. You got to keep track.
By the way, when Raj Grover comes on the show, you and Blake have dibs to come on.
Oh,
he said he's coming on, so it's going to happen for episode 100.
This is fantastic.
Well,
he payback.
He didn't promise a time frame.
Yeah, it's like Joe Hendry. Say his name, he'll appear. So maybe.
But I mean, he did promise to bring sunglasses though. So
yeah. Have you had any interactions with the other side of the cannabis cult, MSOS?
Oh yeah, what's going on with that? So
we have been getting attacked. We're under siege right now.
Right. We talked about it earlier in the show when we were filibustering for time. They apparently were paid shills for high tide now. Yeah,
we have like 2 or 3 people. It started with this one, like, it's like this 45-year-old lady who's like a hardcore Republican. And she's got like MAGA in her profile. She's got the MAGA hat on. She's like writing in poems to us. She's like, game over. It's over. You guys are done for. And like, it's just saying like this unhinged shit. So I'm, of course, like messing with it a little bit. I'm doing like a little poke on, just because high tide has had better performance in 2 days than you've had, and just something funny like that. Now we have like 3 or 4 of them coming after us, and apparently they came at Blake too. So like we're kind of fiscal was the term you used.
He's public enemy number 1. We're just guilty by association.
Yeah, we're guilty by association. So like we've been getting it's interesting. Like I had my LinkedIn screenshotted today, dude. Some scary stuff. I don't care. Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, I know, but wait. Well, there's people who hate high tide that much.
It's
It's-
we've had
they're-
interactions before, like with high tide investors, I think. But like since it's so small and like kind of niche, I guess they're very autistic is the word I have to use, but like very autistic about it.
Well,
And we'll get like attacked for like
But,
anytime we aren't speaking high tide.
these people, they're in MSOS, I guess, and which is why he has the thing and is in the background there. Says MSOS sucks. And I think the thing is they hate. Blake says that jealousy is a hell of a thing. Like they're mad because their cannabis bet is not good and ours is, and they seem to be very susceptible to conspiratorial thinking.
Yeah.
And they think that we're paid shills for high tide, and that that when the descheduling comes, we're going to get destroyed for some reason.
We're screwed. It's over.
They're gonna get pumped, and we're gonna get destroyed, even though that doesn't really follow at all. Because
this is my favorite.
Descheduling in the U.S. doesn't hurt high tide at all, so I don't understand a lot.
Gentlemen, you shouldn't be surprised about any of this. Oh, you're bringing them up? Okay.
Oh, this is funny. Well, we won't mention the name, but listening to the cash flow, this one might put us out of business, Fiscal. I think we may have to. I think the show needs to be ended. I think we need to hang up the shoes.
Do you know about some bird lady roller pigeons? What I'm trying to say is, like, this is the internet, so like you'll find everything.
We've had worse. That's the thing. Like what happened to us in May, or episode 32.
Yeah,
legendary. Like this is nothing.
That was your wake up call, right? So that's something when you start to make that talking on the internet, the first thing you'll find is that there's a lot of people out there. You know, there's all kinds of characters. Some of them are going to be very nice, very, normal, and you're going to make some good connections. You're going to find a lot of people who are very interesting, to say the least. And, you'll always be surprised as you keep doing this, right? More and more. And actually, I think it gets worse as the bigger you get. The bigger you get, it gets worse.
Yeah.
And maybe it's overwhelming at some point. But, there's bird lady roller pigeons. I don't know if you guys know. So she created a cult basically around this like very weird mineral stock thing that went bankrupt, and a lot of people lost all their money.
Oh,
They had this crazy conspiracy.
Somebody do like one of the not CoffeeZilla himself, but like didn't one of the CoffeeZilla like inspired scammer killer people like do a video on her, like what Spencer, Cornelia, Scott Schaefer, one of those kind of guys, didn't they do a video on her?
Probably.
Because that sounds so familiar.
And they had this whole conspiracy about FINRA. There's a lot of people out there that just like, they give you these like, they're not all there. And they get obsessions, right? It's random obsessions. But I'm not surprised that in the wheat stocks, the MSCO, whatever, you'll find them. I think the most commonality they share is like I don't want to say like complicated stories, complicated narratives, but they do. They apply really complicated narratives. And yes, for you, Ryan, because you're more normal. For you, the logic makes no sense. I get it. Oh, yeah. And but I I do find it at least, well, kind of funny that in the most random of places they're hating on another wheat stock because their wheat stock is not doing poorly, and they're mad at you for it. Like they're genuinely mad at you.
Oh, it's hilarious though. That's the thing. Like I can't help myself sometimes. I probably should lay off a little bit, but yeah. I was gonna actually make the sign that says MSOS is gay, but then they'd have something to kind of go after me for. So I made a good decision today.
Yeah.
I think that is a sentimental way to end the show, unless you have anything more to add.
No, I'm pretty like I feel like we covered so much good ground. Over 2 hours tonight.
I know, a Joe Rogan episode,
a marathon session.
Yeah,
fun though.
Yeah. Fabio, where can the people find you? Obviously, you have the Capital Mindset Club, which
But you guys, your audience can find me in both of your Discords.
well
That's
said.
true. That's true. You can. We have
So
we have
join
a
us.
lot of lively discussions in there.
Creative.
It's a
All
good
right,
time.
thank you all for watching. Check him out at Capital Mindset, link in the description. Thank you all for watching again. Smash like, subscribe, do dividend, stocks on drugs, and cash flow is king.
King.
Oh yeah.